offensive rebounding teams. They recruit to it. They do it well. They're incredibly physical. They don't just do it with their bigs. They do it with their wings and bigs. And, I think they beat you up on the glass. Last year the rebound differential was embarrassing. I think it was 51-19. Although it's a brand new year, clearly we have a number of players that were in that game, and I don't even think we have to remind them of what happened. They clearly know. So any team that plays against Baylor, first and foremost, has to keep them off the offensive glass. And it's not just the bigs. It's going to be our entire team, and it's not just our starting five. It's going to be our bench and our subs as well. But how we do in that one area, who has more rebounds, what percentage of their offensive misses do they get back, I think no matter what team plays them, and that's the starting point, and we're no different. The other thing this year Baylor's doing a great job of is they force a lot of turnovers. I think they forced almost every one of their opponents into 15 or more turnovers, and you do that on their home court, that's going to be a bad deal for us. So how we rebound against their team for 40 minutes and how many turnovers we end up having, I think those are two revealing stats on whether we'll be in the game and have an opportunity to win.
Asking about Ira Lee, just because he's the player who's coming after you, his minutes are down a little bit this year. Is it just so much talent around him, or is there something you're looking to see from him?
No, Ira's doing a really good job for our team. He had a couple great moments in the tournament we just finished. Ira is a winner. He practices hard every day. He gives his teammates his heart and soul. His intent is always good. He wants to do well, sometimes to his detriment, where he wants to do well and almost presses. And Ira and I have talked about that. But what Ira's role on our team is he is a versatile player that brings tremendous energy, and we're counting on him to do it on the defensive glass, offensive, rebounding, defense, offense. He runs the court well. Some of the best moments of our early season, he's been directly involved in. So we're counting on Ira. We believe in him, and he's a really big part of our team.
Is there any update on the status of Stone Gettings?
Yeah, Stone suffered a facial fracture on the play that there was no foul called. Really a very, very tough play. You don't see it much in basketball. But he has a concussion that followed his facial fracture. He's out indefinitely. He will not play against Baylor. He's not practiced, and he is making progress with his concussion symptoms. He's a long way right now from where he was on Saturday or Friday night. So he is making progress. But when he'll return, you guys know this dealing with football, I can't even begin to tell you. And when he returns, I'm sure for a period of time he'll have to wear a mask. But we look forward to getting him back. He's a big part of our team, but he will not play against Baylor 100%.
Is there anybody that you'll look to now that maybe could fill the role that he's played so far?
Yeah, Ira will play more minutes. He already did. He played more minutes, and he stepped up in both the Penn and the Wake Forest game. We've already had really about a game and a half without Stone. So this week we're addressing that. But I think Christian Coloco, is that next front court player will be called on to come in and give us some extra front court depth. And then, being able to play a smaller group where maybe, somebody like Josh could be in with three guards and maybe just one big for a period of time. Again, we've done that a little bit the last couple of games as well. So those are things we have to work on. Regardless of whether Stone was playing or not, those are things that we're always aware of and trying to build. But without him, clearly, we have to stay deep, and that's a way we can stay deep by calling on Christian, adding a bigger role to Ira, and then being able to play more of a flexible lineup.
Did you ever review that play that he got hit on? Because
Yes.
we couldn't see it there. What actually happened?
Yeah, he got tackled right there on the left block. He got the guy up on a pump fake, and the guy dismembered him. I mean, it was. I don't mean that in terms of a illegal play or an intentional foul. That's not the case, but it's the guy was in the air and he had to come down, and Stone was off the ground and had to go in the air, and both forces met each other, and I don't even think the ball traveled more than a foot, but disappointing there was no foul call, but that happens.
When the fracture, when did you find out that he had like an X-ray on Monday or Tuesday or something?
We had an X-ray when we got back.
Sean, when you were recruiting Zeke, it's always a competitive game, but how much the ability to run the court and do things away from the basketball impressed you the most?
Well, Zeke has always been able to step away from the basket, and I think, yes, I mean, we saw that right away. That's part of his style for sure. Now, he's physically gotten bigger and stronger, and I think things around the basket might have right now are, I don't want to say easier, but he may be a little bit more comfortable there right now. But he does a lot of things on a daily basis away from the basket, and that part of his game will continue to develop.
So when he was like 6'6", 6'7" at the sophomore, I think it was, his ability to do a lot of different things probably helped him develop quicker and faster or whatever?
Yes. Yep.
How is that? Does that typically happen with a big guy?
It does. Each big guy is different, but Zeke is a basketball player. He's not a big man. He's a forward. Today's way of playing, I think he's just very adept at doing it, where he could do a lot of things both on offense and defense. And as you know, he's very agile, both laterally and running the court. He's not a plotter at all, and his skill level. I mean, you see, how proficient he is at shooting the 15 to 17 footer, and I think that usually when you have that type of touch from the foul line and 15 to 17 feet, it eventually moves backwards, and that's something Zeke is working on right now a lot. And but he's had a good week of practice, and I look for him to play well here at Baylor.
Is there enough court space and shots for Zeke and Chase to both play really well together? Is it just circumstance that some of Zeke's best games came when Chase wasn't having a great game, and kind of vice versa?
No, they both can play well together, and to Zeke's credit, two of the three teams really trapped him in L.A. in our tournament, and he took what the defense gave him, which was the pass. And I would say 4 or 5 of Chase's field goals really came from Zeke, just finding the open man and being clever and patient, which is a testament to Zeke, being that he is so young. Usually young players who get trapped for the first time, they have to learn how to handle that. But so far, he's done a great job. And again, I think one of the many things that Zeke does well is he passes the ball. He's unselfish.
I know Nico got a little bit banged up and would like to see, is he okay?
He hasn't practiced. We'll see how he is the next day or two, whether he'll play. I anticipate him playing. What role he'll have, I don't know.
So is it just kind of, he's not practicing. Do you know when he'll start practicing?
I don't. It's up to him.
Where did he get banged up in?
I think he just has lower back soreness.
So he's questionable this weekend, or what?
Yeah, I don't know how much he'll be able to give us. He hasn't practiced that. So, today's Thursday, and really Josh is the same way. Josh had, strep throat, and, he kind of fought through it, but he hasn't been able to go either. So we're a little banged up. I'm hoping the next couple of days those guys can practice. But, you have to certainly practice to play in the game, and certainly to start, because it's a team sport. And guys that are practicing, especially, it's not 1 or 2 days, it's been the entire week. So we'll learn more today. We haven't practiced today yet, so we'll see how those two guys are, and then we'll see how they are tomorrow. We don't have a shoot-around on Saturday. It's an early game, so, today and tomorrow are really, really important. But that's, sometimes what happens in these exempt tournaments, you play 3 games in 4 days, and especially for young guys, it's not easy to play 3 college games in 4 days. So I think it's taken its toll a little bit on our team with Stone and those two guys. But hopefully Josh and Nico will be able to make progress. But I'm not sure, like our lineup, how we'll do that. That'll be more of a game time decision. And I think the role that everybody will have, we'll have to see how the next couple of days go.
Can you talk, maybe last thing on Zeke, talk about his temperament? He seems like intense on the court, but off the court, just a normal dude.
You know, Zeke is just a tremendous kid. He's from a great family. You know, he hasn't been on top of the world of basketball since he's been in 6th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. You know, he wasn't a McDonald's All-American even as a 10th grader, maybe even as a junior in high school. He was a very good prospect, but never was on everybody's top 25 or 5-star list. I don't even know if Zeke became a 5-star basketball player in high school. Maybe a couple people said he was, others maybe not. So, you know, because of that, he's been an underdog. He's been kind of quietly in the background. So for him, you know, a lot of his work was behind the scenes. He's very fortunate, played for a very good high school coach where practice was made important. They won a state championship a year ago. Defensively, offensively, you know, he was held accountable. And you really feel that coaching him. It's a real advantage for Zeke because he's not been pampered. He's really had to earn everything that he's been given, and he's done that since he's been at Arizona as well. How he's approached the summer, how he's approached the practice. You know, he had his moments in our tournament where he played really well, but I'd say he probably had his first bad game, you know, in the last game. But to his credit, he's bounced back. He's had a good week of practice so far, and you know, I think he'll play well on Saturday.
So I guess this is my last question. Back in the day, you had at Miami of Ohio, you had Devin Davis. I'm sure, just energy, hairstyle. Just can you compare? Is he the same type, energy-wise? Maybe not the size, but
yeah, I mean their hair. That's the one common theme, and they're both, you know, about the same size. But you know, Zeke reminds me a lot of Derek Williams. I would say that's a fair comparison. You know, he's big and strong, but also very explosive. And just really, really good kid.
You talked about over the Wooden Legacy, the struggle with defending the three-point line. Have you guys, you know, in practice this week, been able to make any adjustments?
It's hard. You know, we haven't had our team practice. The guys who have practiced, clearly that's something we're working on. We're very well aware of it. And Baylor, man, they challenge you from the three-point line. I mean, they're shooting as a team about 40%. You know, in terms of Baylor, I look at them as being a very high seed in this year's NCAA tournament. I mean, we're playing a really good team. A year ago, they were solid and good. They're much, much better this year. If you watched them against Villanova in their tournament, they were just outstanding. It was a great game. Hard to believe the game was played in November. Both teams played really well. It was a high-level game. But Baylor, you know, their preseason pick to win the Big 12. There's a reason for that. I think they have one of the best guards in the country in Jared Butler. I saw him this summer in USA Basketball, and he comes into this game averaging 20, but he shoots 52% from three, 52% from the field. Offense comes easy. He's also an outstanding defensive player. He's tough. I really, really like him. He's big. He's 6'3", and then they've added Teague. You know, you got Bando, Davion Mitchell. So they have 4 guards that they play and they rotate in at those 3 spots. And then have a really talented forward, Matthew Mayer, who from an offensive perspective, he comes in the game and it's amazing how easy he scores the ball. And he could play at the 4 and the 3. Obviously, we're aware of Clark and Gillespie. Freddie Gillespie averages 4 offensive rebounds a game. So you know, they don't really have a weak spot. You know, when you look at a college team where at 5 different positions they can all play, they can all score, that's Baylor. And their guards are, and I think the narrative is out there, they may be the best collective group of guards that's playing in college basketball. So our guards will be challenged at both ends. And Baylor plays both ends. They don't just play on offense. They play defense and on offense. And I've already addressed their offensive rebounding. You know, what they did to us a year ago, but, you know, they've done that to a lot of teams. I mean, they're one of college basketball's premier rebounding programs, and especially on the offensive end. So offensive rebounding, they force turnovers, they shoot the three-point shot well. They have these 4 guards that can really, really play. They have experience, and they're a well-coached group. I think they're balanced as good as their offense is. I think their defense is very good as well. and they're playing on their home court. It will be a real big challenge. And no matter who plays Baylor this year, it's going to be in big struggle. I mean, you're going to have to play a great game to beat them. And for us, we're going to have to be on top of our game to have a chance to beat them, especially on their home court.
In a way, collectively, with all these issues with the three guys, is that maybe a good thing this early in the season to see what you got and what kind of toughness comes out of this?
Yeah, I think sometimes with a team, and we've had early season success, that's how I would define what we've done. Early season success. Great to be 9-0. We're thrilled to have won the tournament that we just played in. But it's just that. It's 9 games. And, our schedule strengthens. We'll be in conference play before you know it. I think these 4 remaining non-conference games are going to challenge us in a big way. But, not until sometimes you fail or you really get that true test of this is what it feels like to play a great team. Do you have everybody's attention? And, our team right now might need that, for sure.
You mentioned Baylor being well coached. What are some of the hallmarks of Scott Drew's team?
Well, first of all, he's been the head coach at Baylor now, I think, for 17 or 18 years. So you could put him in the top 5%, maybe the top 2% of college basketball. For somebody at the high major level to be at one school for that long says a lot about him. What I love about their program is they really recruit in a really terrific way. I mean, they identify guys that, quite frankly, don't have big reputations, and they perform. They've mixed in some great transfers, and then they've had their fair share of great, incoming talent from high school and junior college. But their talent level over a long period of time is outstanding. And like I said, if you're top 10 in the country in offensive rebounding, it's one thing to do it maybe in a given year, but for them to have that decade's worth of excellence in that area, it's a real testament to their coaching staff. Also, they're a smart group. They don't turn the ball over. They're solid in what they do, and I think this team in particular, I'm sure they feel they have a special group. It looks to me like they do.
On the upside, for you guys anyway, you've been really good in these day road games. Has there been any secret there, or do guys just like to play instead of sitting around the hotel first? Or?
No, to our team and program's credit, you're right. We've been ready. Michigan a few years back was a real test. Last year, going all the way to UConn was a great test for last year's team in particular. We want to be a good team on the road. However, this year's team, we haven't been on the road. This is a big test. I don't think that we clearly understand how hard it is. We're going to find that out here on Saturday. And like I said, we've had a unique week of practice. I wish we could have, been together a little bit more, but, these are our circumstances and we have to deal with them.
They have a weird situation with the football game going on, where they're giving away tickets. I'm kind of thinking between your Texas alums and their fans going to football, it might help you a little bit atmosphere-wise. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there yet, so I'm not sure.
And as far as that morning, is there anything difficult? I think Ryan Reynolds is telling me sometimes you get up, you have your pregame meal at like 7:30 a.m. Is there anything difficult about that, or?
I mean, yes and no. The one thing about these guys that are playing in college basketball today, I mean, they're used to playing more than one game on a particular day, traveling all over the country, sometimes really the world, and playing in tournaments, playing against good competition. They've played early games. I can make the case 9 p.m. games are equally difficult, But, for us, we'll be home on Saturday early evening, and, wherever the time is, the game, we have to be ready, and we have to play our best, and it's up to us to be the most ready that we can be. So that's what we're planning on doing. And if we're not ready, they'll kill us. I mean, they'll blow us out of the arena. They are a really good team.
Just one thought just about the way the Pac-12 is doing. You knew these games were going to be added in next year, December, but a year from now, this time you'll be talking about hosting Colorado or whatever. I mean, will that affect anything as far as you're working on your rotation at this time of year, that kind of stuff? Or
yeah, no, it'll be different, but again, sometimes when we do things for the first time, you almost forget that there's been some other programs and conferences that have been doing this for multiple years, so it's kind of the new way in college basketball, and I think the decision for our conference to go to 20 games is a smart move. There's a lot of reasons behind the move. It was very well researched out. Jamie Zanenovich, which I've pointed out a number of times, in the group in the Pac-12 office, they've worked really tirelessly the last couple of years to just look at what's best for us as a conference moving forward. And I think we came to an agreement on that with a lot of good research. So all of us will adjust to it. And, in due time, I'm sure no one will even remember how it once was.
Has Arch relayed anything about how he's had to adjust in the Big Ten as far as that goes?
I think what you see is there's a lot of these teams that aren't participating in the exempt tournaments that once were. There still are quite a few teams that do it, but in those conferences, respectively, if you pay close attention, they're not playing in those tournaments as much. And reason is they're playing 20 games and they want to control their schedule a little bit more. So I can see that potentially being something that happens here once our conference goes to 20 games.
Thanks, Coach.
Mhm.